Welcome to the Phillip Wylie Show. Take a look behind the curtain of professional hacking and hear compelling discussions with guests from diverse backgrounds who share a common curiosity and passion for challenges and their job. And now, here's your host, offensive security professional, educator, mentor, and author, Phillip Wylie.
Hello and welcome to the first live episode of the Phillip Wylie Show. Thanks everyone for joining. If you wouldn't mind in the chat, just kind of post in there where you're joining us from. We got followers from around the globe, and so very happy today to have Sid from the SecOps Group joining. We're going to be discussing certifications, kind of some of the troubled areas of certifications, and kind of how his new company is helping out. So for those of you that don't know of Sid, I figure that's probably just people that are new to the industry, but Sid had some of the most sought after offensive security training that he gave at Black Hat, DEFCON, and Hack in the Box. So these were some of the training I always wanted to be able to take. Never was able to take advantage of that because of schedules and budget from whoever I was working for. But one of the things I'd say is with his background, he also has pen testing experience. He's an experienced practitioner, not just someone that creates courses, not someone that just has a training company. So he has the background, and he's created education platforms in the past, but now he's kind of gotten more into the certification realm. And we're going to kind of discuss today some of those challenges for certifications and kind of what Sid is offering. Welcome to the show, Sid.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks. So shall I begin by just giving the audience a little introduction? Will that help set the scene?
Yes, please.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Sid, Sumit Siddharth, but I go by Sid. I've been living in the UK for nearly 16 years, originally from India. So I think most of you must have pen testing background on this show, or I assume most of the audience here have some connections with the world of pen testing. I have a background in pen testing. I did 15 years of pen testing. Back in the days, I was pretty active on the research scene. So spoke at numerous Black Hats, DEFCON, Hack in the Box, OWASP, AppSec, all these conferences, the usual hacker stint, articles, exploit, books, codes, advisories, t-shirts, coffee mugs, everything you can collect. So been there, done that. My particular area of research was AppSec. I took a liking towards the SQL injection vulnerability. I don't know if you recall, but back in the days at Black Hat, I used to teach a class called The Art of Exploiting SQL Injection. And that was my first break at Black Hat. Then, towards the end, I found that SQL injection was not dying down or not the thing to be proud of. It was the industry had moved on from that. We were seeing less and less of that. So I came up with the art of exploiting lesser known injection flaws. So in which I will talk about XXC, second order XXC, some other LDAP injections, XPath injections, and some more weird and wonderful stuff. This is going back a few years now. Thanks, Phil, for reminding me of that. So that was the pen testing days. Then I transitioned from a techie to an entrepreneur. I started a business in 2013 called Not So Secure, which was a consultancy and training business. That business grew quite rapidly during my time there. And then in 2018, I sold that business to a group called Claranet Group. And I had an exit from that business in 2020. So, I've gone through the whole thing of techie, R&D to entrepreneur to having an exit. After the exit, I set up a company called the SecOps Group, which is what we will talk about today in this show. As a business, we have two arms in the SecOps Group. We have a consultancy arm, which pretty much do pen testing, AppSec, network security, mobile app security, red team, purple team, all cloud security, all those kind of things. And also we have an education arm. So if you, Phil, if you don't stop me, I'll just carry on going. So feel free to interrupt.
No, that's fine. That's interesting because your injection course is where I first probably found out about your training. That was one of the courses I really wanted to take, but wasn't able to. And one of the things too, to elaborate on the type of training that Sid was giving, this is not just some of your, basic everyday network or web app pen testing training you saw that everyone was offering. This was very relevant stuff that could be used and help elevate someone's skills at pen testing. So this is
So,
not.
there is actually a very interesting story, Phil, if you don't mind me mentioning it.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
So back in the days when I started my career, I was very lucky. I was working for a company called Portcullis Computer Security, which later on got acquired by Cisco. Uh, and back in the days, I was very lucky to find myself in a group, amongst a group of people who were all emerging rock stars. So imagine, I'm not making it up. So one of the guys in that room was Ferro Mavituna, the guy who later created NetSparker, which is now called Invicti Security. The second guy in that room was Bernardo, who wrote SQL Map. The third guy in that team was Alberto, who wrote SQL Ninja. There was a guy who wrote Nipper, Ian. I don't know if you know Nipper's a Cisco rules auditing platform. So I just found myself to be in the, and there was Mark. Some of you may know him from the name Pentest Monkey, etc.
Yes.
I'm not exactly. So, and there were some more rock stars. I don't think I should name them all, and they may not like me name dropping on your show. But I think I got to where I got to because that esteemed company had a lot to do with my progress, and I kind of thrived in that company. So I took. That company made me take to SQL injection like a duck to water. And then I said, look, I can't just be talking about. And there was one more guy, I should take his name. I actually saw my first DEFCON was DEFCON 15. And Harun Mir, I'm sure everybody here knows Harun Mir. Back then, I was working for the South African company. Remind me of the name. Now they are called something else, but back then they were called. Anyways, he was giving a talk on SQL injection. And that was my first ever DEFCON, first ever experiencing a proper big conference, a room full of 300 people, and this guy defending his synopsis on SQL injection and what has he found, etc. And that was like the watershed moment for me. I thought, look, this is it. This is the thing which gives me the kick. This is my home. I need to be at DEFCON or Black Hat each year, and I need to find a topic that I can excel in like these guys. So, when you are talking at a conference like these, you might have people sitting in that audience like me, I was at that time, who would look at your talk and your research material, and that will give them the kick in life.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of our listeners are people that are just trying to get, some of our listeners are just getting started in the industry. If you could kind of share kind of how you learned to get into the roles of pen testing.
I think the most important thing was, especially if you identify that you are working with some pretty good people, you are prepared to do the legwork, right? And you want to get them on their side, get in their good books by one way or the other. When I identified that, look, I'm working with some really top-notch guys, and I have two options here: either I can be on their side, or I can just take the snobbish outlook and say, look, you guys, I know my foo, and don't talk to me, etc. So I think keep all the pride and ego aside, and just have this learning attitude is really, really important. If some of the times these people will throw in some keywords, and I would spend few hours trying to decipher what exactly that guy meant. He might say, oh, this thing is coming from the session variable. And I will have to track back and say, okay, session variable, what does he actually mean? Okay, maybe this parameter, that, etc. So look, I got into pen testing from university days. I identified it pretty clearly that I was born to hack. There was no other way. There was no other life for me. So for me, I was pretty sure from early days that, look, I'm going to make my career in this. I have been very stubborn in my life. I was prepared to sleep on the street. I told my wife, this is what I want to do. Come with me, or hallelujah.
Yeah, we had one of our listeners, Istvan, said that since
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. What a great company. Yeah, and so many great things came out of that company. So yeah, great fond memories of SensePost.
Yeah, so very interesting. So you're basically what I'm getting from your sharing your background. Most of the stuff you just kind of did on the job training, learning on your own and learning through colleagues. So there wasn't any courses or anything specific that you took. during that
I mean,
time?
you're talking of the time of 2005. You're talking of
Okay.
the time where Burp was still just about coming out. Paros Proxy. Have you heard? Do you remember
Yeah.
those days?
Yep.
Paros Proxy.
Yeah. I
so
remember Paris
so
Fox. Yeah.
so every vulnerability was made up of blood, sweat, and tears. I sometimes look at these pen testing kits and I look at, oh, Burp has found this issue and I'm struggling to identify. And I look at them and say, you guys are so lucky, that you've got these modern, up-to-date tools. And back in the days, I remember the CGI scripts we used to write, or Perl scripts, Perl exploits. Who writes Perl exploits now?
Yeah.
so my advice to people is, look, while these tools have become modern, and it's really good that you are able to do a comprehensive job or a more comprehensive job in the day with the help of these tools. Don't forget the basics. Go back to the root cause, understand how these tool works, and we will talk a little bit about the exams, etc., how we've structured it to test people's understanding of the concept and not just the understanding of how good you can run the tool, etc. So yeah, I am a big believer of going back to the basics. My favorite book, if you ask me, on cybersecurity is funnily enough TCP/IP fundamentals.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. Read TCP/IP fundamentals, and you're halfway there with network security. Because if you don't understand that, anything else will not help.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you really think about the people that are really excelling at offensive security, really dig in and learn, go study the RFPs for certain protocols. If someone's doing exploited development, learning assembly, really getting in, because it seems like if you don't dig into it deep enough, it's a little more difficult to really understand. So that's a good one for people listening is as Sid's recommending, kind of learn the basics. Don't skip over that. The basics are important. If you skip the basics, you get into one of these pen testing courses, you're not going to understand some of these things, and taking the time to learn those fundamentals is going to be helpful.
Absolutely, and I think that is the key. Is if you're breaking into the industry, there are a lot of shortcuts, like anything else in life, I suppose. But and those shortcuts may give you some short-term gains. But if you want long-term gains, then you have to dedicate a period of time where you are prepared to go through the grind. And then if you go through the grind, you will find in long term it will pay bigger dividends.
So one of the things I know is you being into business, you're having your own consulting company. I know you've hired a lot of people and kind of help people get started along the way. So what are when you're as a hiring manager and you're looking for people, do you value certifications? Is that something that whenever you was running your consulting company that you required from people?
Over the years, I have hired a lot of people, a lot of pen testers, etc. I think the certifications do play a role, especially as things stand. There are some good certifications in the industry. We won't necessarily hire somebody based on just the fact that somebody has a degree or a certification. We would still want to have a technical round. More importantly, the aptitude round, just to understand. Yes, a lot of people everybody has certifications nowadays, but I think more than certifications, what we are more interested in, uh, I think what sort of projects do you have on GitHub? I think GitHub is more important to me than CVs, or things like, okay, what sort of bugs have you found, how have you got about finding those bugs? And I mean, this is an interesting topic. So we are getting we are in the age of bug bounty. Okay, and again, this is just my opinion. Maybe people will differ from me, and this is the first time you're putting me on the spot on a live show. So I haven't really thought about it. But look, so I will be very open and honest here, and this is my 5 cents. You may disagree with me, but we are getting a lot of people who do bug bounties, and sometimes they do bug bounties alongside their day job, or sometimes they do bug bounties as a full-time job. And what we are finding out is that bug bounty is not the same as pen testing. Okay, people may get proficient in identifying a few type of bugs. Okay, and they may just rinse and repeat that technique over, just spray that technique over thousands of targets, etc., and make some money out of it. Okay, and may rank very highly on a bug bounty website, etc. And there's nothing wrong with it, if it's a model that is working for them, etc. But typically in our recruitment process, we tend to find that out, how much deep they are in their skills, pretty quickly. Okay, so and that is my little concern when we talked about going through the grind, right? Sometimes in this era of bug bounty, it is very easy to just learn 2 or 3 techniques, spray it around, make some money and feel that you are on top of your game, rather than learning what AppSec is all about, other techniques, deeper techniques, etc. So yeah, that's one of the things that we look for when we hire people.
That's some good points too, because one of the things I've recommended to people to kind of get started is bug bounty. So it's interesting to hear that point of view. And that's very true. With a pen test, you're supposed to perform all these different checks and looking for things. So as you said, if someone gets really good at certain bugs, they're kind of missing out on other areas.
And pen testing is a very wider topic. You're not necessarily doing the glory hunting. Yes, you are hired to find bugs, and you've got time allocated for it, and it's your job to find bugs. But you also have to do a thorough job and not just focus on one bug, but cover it through the length and breadth of the assignment. So I think there is a vast difference, and that gap between bug bounty and pen testing, in my opinion, is getting larger and larger over time.
Very, very interesting. And so I'm sure when you came up with the certifications that you're offering, that you saw a problem in the industry with certifications that you were trying to improve upon. What was that problem that you were kind of seeing in the industry that you've tried to solve?
So okay, obviously I'm a vendor, so my thoughts and my opinions are biased. So take it whatever you want to take from this. But if you look at cybersecurity industry, and it is growing, and it is growing at a crazy rate, and over next whatever foreseeable future, it is only going to grow. So first of all, my take on it is that there is not enough competition, and that is a really, really big point. There are 2 or 3 major players, and even so I think that having somebody like me in that cybersecurity certification business would just create, if nothing else, it will create competition, and that competition will be good for the industry. So that's my first point. Secondly, most of these offerings out there is based on one common model, which is, here is our training, take this and then take the exam. And I think when you take somebody's money to train them, and then you offer them an exam, I think somewhere down the line you are muddying the water. So we, the SecOps Group, we have taken a stand wherein we are not offering training courses, we are only running exams. Okay, so our stand on that is pretty clear. And I understand sometimes the frustration builds up and says, so how do I prepare for this exam? And I will try to address that somewhere down the line in this podcast. But for now, our stand on that is pretty clear. We have published a detailed syllabus for the exam, and we would encourage people to study from whatever possible sources they want to prepare for these. But we are not offering any courses in that regards. Then there are a few more things, right? For example, how often are these exams up to date? And so I'm a business guy, and I have run a few businesses, and I'm involved in a few businesses now. As a business model, it is really difficult to keep, if you offer 5 or 6 different training courses and then you run different exams, it is absolutely, it's a big hassle to keep everything up to date. If you are just running exams, then it is much easier for you to, stay on top of these exams and stay on top of your games. So it just feels more organic and more natural thing for us to do. So that's why we are doing it. So there are some more logistical issues. For example, I don't know if you guys are aware of CREST, but in other exams, the logistics sometimes don't work, where you have to take exams in a particular exam-like setting. So you have to travel to an on-site location to take the exam. You may or may not have internet, or you may have internet not on your PC directly, but through another PC. Some other exams which forbid you the use of certain tools, etc. So those were some of our frustrations with the existing certification sector. So we said we will create our own exams, and I'll talk about our exams in a minute. But these are the things that we want to eliminate. We wanted to offer an exam which is affordable. People don't have to pay $1,600 or $2,000 to take an exam. On our website, at least, they're fairly affordable. They are real world, they're modern. So we are not asking people to do MS 08067 and pop shells on XP machines. We are running modern infrastructure. They're online and on demand. So you can take it anytime you like. You don't have to schedule it. You can start it as and when you are ready. You get instant results. I mean, in 2023, you submit an exam report and you have to wait for a week or 5 days or whatever to take the exam. I don't think it's acceptable. Reports to write. So here is a question, Phil. Okay, and I will open up to the audience. I understand pen testing or consultancy, you require soft skills. You have to compile a report at the end of the engagement. You have to present an executive summary and all of that. We've all done that in the past. If somebody's English is not his core language, and I'm sure we've all worked with people who are fantastic hackers, but maybe not amazing at English, do they not belong to our industry? I mean, should we not give them a job in pen testing because their soft skills is poor? So I think soft skills is important for consultancy. Don't get me wrong, but in our exam, we are not rating them on soft skills. We are not asking them to create a report. We are asking them we are judging them on their ability to hack. And that's again a different stand that we've taken. So look, we rather than following the mold, we've tried to stand on our own 2 feet and try to do things differently, which I hope over time people will appreciate.
So yeah, that's a great point. And one of the things too, the way you do your exams, how soon after does someone see whether they've passed or failed the exam? How long does it take?
When they finish exam button.
Awesome, that's great.
So if you allow me, I'll just present my screen and talk.
Sure, yeah,
about the exams. Yeah.
Definitely,
Okay.
Go for it. And one of the things I remember too is when going through the OSCP, waiting several days to find out whether you've passed or failed. And like going through the CISSP, I mean, back then when I took it in 2001, not 2002, it was a written exam.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to wait weeks before you found out whether you passed or not.
So again, my question on this is, again, look, I am a critic and I am a vendor, and OSCP is a very good exam. I don't have against it. But look, this concept of 24-hour exam, I mean, we are all professionals. We do this for a living, right? We do 8-hour in a day job. And if I sell consultancy services to a client, I will sell them 8 hours of consultancy service. I won't sell them 24 hours of consultancy services. So you need to understand and appreciate a work-life balance as well. Yes, you are taking an exam, but don't kill somebody. Well, again, that's just my take on it. I think, can we not create an exam which can be taken in 8 hours or a reasonable working hour window and have the same effect?
And a good point you mentioned, like having families and work-life balance, that makes it tough for some people to take the exam, and maybe someone has health issues. Not everyone is okay or healthy enough to stay up 24 hours for an exam.
Right. Oh, exactly. So hopefully, again, if nothing else, it will give a competition. It will challenge people to think differently, and also give an insight as to what we were thinking when we created those exams. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
So this is our certification tab. Okay, and I will be very clear. By certifications, we mean exams. We don't offer any training courses. Our exams comes under 2 silos or 2 categories. Well, currently 2. The third one might come up soon. So first is the essentials or entry level, and the second one is the professional or intermediate level. So the entry level or the essentials exam is aimed for those people who have security as a secondary function. So think of it like a developer who writes code. He needs to understand principles of secure coding to be able to write code. So those candidates will be ideal for something like a certified AppSec practitioner, certified network security practitioner, somebody ideal for somebody who's a network architect, for example, right? Designing a network securely, etc. Similarly, the third exam in the entry level or essentials category is around cloud security, AWS. The entry levels exams are all multiple choice question. They are all through an AI proctored website. You get 60 minutes, 4 options per question. They are online and on demand. And they are all these are, you cannot open a new tab and you cannot use Google or anything else. Otherwise, you will fail based on the AI proctoring. They are all factual and scenario based questions. So maybe I can show you some.
Sure.
Okay, let's see.
And
okay, so
and for those who may have joined late too, these certifications do not require you to pay for training. This is something you can do self-study. Maybe you went through some other courses to train for these type of positions. Maybe you've worked in these positions for a while.
So, and especially when we talk about the professional exams, this is aimed for professional pen testers. People have been doing 2+ years of pen testing. And my little frustration with the industry is Like, look, first of all, this course content is fairly standard, right? We are not really testing you on any concept which is alien to the world. If you have been doing professional pen testing and you have to prepare separately for an exam, then is the exam actually catered to test you on the right skills? You've been driving for 12 years and now you, for some reason, you have to renew your exam. Do you go back again to your driving instructor and say, look, I need to go and learn to drive again? So again, look, this is my take on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a simple question here from CNSP exam. Which user account is required to create a golden ticket in Active Directory? Can we, if people are familiar with it, can somebody pop their answers in the chat and we can give a few shout outs? But this is just one of the sample questions from our CNSP profile. Let's have a look at maybe something else.
We got some answers there. Like some good answers.
Okay. Oh, very good, very good. So again, the objective with the entry levels is that you are not supposed to be a pen tester, but you're supposed to know the internals still. Okay, let's have a look what we have here. Oops. Okay, so which of the following directives in a content security policy, HTTP response header, can be used to prevent clickjacking attack? So is it script SRC, object SRC, frame ancestors, base URI? So again, somebody needs to be familiar with best practices around this. Somebody needs to still be aware of what is clickjacking attack. We are not here asking people to carry it out in practice, but again, you need to have a fairly good understanding of AppSec still to be able to pass this exam. So that's a little sneak peek into our entry-level exams. They are our entry-level exams. Okay, then we come to the professional exams. So these are 4 hours exams. We currently have 3 offerings. We have CA Pen, AppSec Pen Tester. And these 2, we offer an in-person format as well. We have a partnership with Black Hat. And this year, Black Hat has announced an exam called Black Hat Certified Pen Tester, which is our exam, which is our version of these exams packaged slightly differently, with some more things added to it, some different complexity added to it. And this is only available at Black Hat. Hence, it's called Black Hat Certified Pen Tester. Similarly, we have a partnership with DEFCON, and we are offering a 7-hour exam at DEFCON, Las Vegas, if you're attending. And that's called the Certified Pen Tester exam. In fact, if you allow me quickly, I'll just tell you about our program for Las Vegas. So if you're attending Las Vegas or Black Hat or Hacker Summer Camp or B-Sides, we have a huge plan there. So we will be running some exams. We will be running an exam at Black Hat and DEFCON. We've got some very cool badges that you can grab from our booth at DEFCON. So some of you might like this. Actually, I know this discussion is going a little off track, but just quickly. So it has 4 buttons. It has 4 buttons here. Through one button, you configure it into a CTF mode. Okay, and then there is a QR code here which says Hack Me, which basically takes you to a CTF through which you solve some flags. You solve those flags and you enter those flags through these 2 buttons, which are basically 1 and 0 binary. So the flags that you will get will be in some binary format. And using these 2 buttons, you enter the flag. You enter those 2 flags in the badge. When you turn on the badge, it will have some LEDs flashing around the circumference of this thing. And then once you enter the flag, they will start to flash in a different order based on what flag you've submitted or not. And maybe you can just, if you can get every single LED to work, then you hack the badge. So hopefully people will like it. So again, a lot of engineering, a lot of time, a lot of effort in designing has gone into it. It is coming along quite nicely. So we'll be giving out both the versions of this, a PC Pen badge and a C Pen badge, based on what exam you take. You don't necessarily have to take the exam to get these badges. You can just meet us at our DEFCON booth, or just drop us an email and pick it up. They are free.
We did have one question. Someone asked if the exam will be available at Black Hat Middle East and Africa in Riyadh.
That's right. Yeah. So that's about to be announced. In fact, we have a huge partnership with Black Hat. So if you look at this badge, this is we are giving away too much here. But yeah, Black Hat Middle East and Africa is the next venue after Black Hat USA, and then Black Hat Sector Canada, and then
Cool.
Black Hat Europe as well, 2023. So yeah, we have some huge plans with our exams. I know it's early days for us. So hopefully we will, in few years' time, we will look back at this podcast and say, yeah, those were the early days of this exam.
Yeah, for some of the just joining, I had some questions. Some people were asking how this compares to some of the other certs. But when you got people like DEFCON, Black Hat, and Sector that are kind of endorsing having these certifications in their names, that just kind of goes to show the quality. I mean, when you stop and think about it, you don't see some of these other certifications available at those conferences.
Well, and so when we were speaking to these conferences, and we had some very lengthy debate and discussions and due diligence from them. One of my take was that, look, if you look at the origins of conferences and what they provide different avenues of learning. Briefings is one track. The arsenal is another track, right? There is workshop track, there is training track, right? These are all avenues to learning. And I can't imagine that we've come to 2023 without thinking that, hang on a minute, somebody also needs to run an exam track or a certification track where we only run exams. And now when you think of it, that there will be a moment where you say, why has it taken all these years to come to realize this? I can't imagine in 5 years' time conferences are still running without the certification track. And right now we are proposing our pen tester cert as the first ever certification under this track. But I can only imagine that in a few years' time, there will be so many different realms of certifications or exams under the certification track, like a reverse engineer or a forensics expert, or all sorts of exams. And that would make so much sense if you think about it.
Very cool. This is very exciting, giving people some other options out there. And so, like on your more advanced exams, these are more practical exams. Am I correct?
Right. Exactly. And actually, so I might be able to show you a few examples of this as well.
Sure, that'd be great.
So for example, as it says on the tin, the CA pen is about application pen testing, and the CN pen, sorry, here is about network pen testing. And again, these are online and on demand. So basically, you go to the exam portal, you click on starting. Once you purchase the exam, we will send you the VPN, your unique VPN username and password. When you go to the exam portal, you click on start exam, and the moment you start it, we push some VPN rules in your profile, and at that very moment you will have access to the VPN network. So you will go about hacking those or solving those questions as per the exam. You pop some boxes, you pop some applications, find some shells, dump some database or whatever, find some flags, you submit those flags in the portal, and that's it. Once you finish the exam or your exam time is up, you get instant result, whether you passed, failed, passed with merit, etc. So again, we are trying to do things in a more modern-ish way.
So we do have a question. Someone asked, would you characterize these exams more as practitioner versus expert?
Right. So we have, I think we mentioned this at the very beginning. Right now, we have two categories: essentials and professional. Essentials, we call it entry level. Professional, we call it intermediate level, right? And if you look at some of the outlines, we have gone to intrinsic detail as to what do we mean by intermediate level. So, for example, in the AppSec, we will say, look, we are expecting people to be able to understand and exploit SQL injection, but we are not expecting people to do second order SQL injection. So we have plans to launch an expert category after professional, which will be called a CA Pen X or CN Pen X, which will be one step ahead of this. But right now, we would call it as a more intermediate level. And to give you our rationale or our understanding of where we think we should place them in terms of complexity. So again, we have two. So this CA Pen plus CN Pen put together, we call it CPEN sometimes, Certified Pen Tester. This is something that we rate as an equivalent to OSCP or equivalent to CREST CRT. I would say it's slightly more difficult or more harder than CRT, maybe CRT plus, if I can put it like that, is what the skill level should be.
So Matthew was asking for those that may be in business development or supporting roles. I guess that was a follow-up question, but I would say probably your entry level, the more junior basic certifications would be more suitable for those type of roles.
Definitely start with the practitioner and then move your way up to these exams. So sorry, Phil, go ahead.
No problem. Yeah, one thing to just let everyone know that just stick around. We'll be giving out a free course code for the CNSP here shortly. So stick around to the end.
Right. So I won't take much time, but I think I just wanted to talk a little bit about the professional exams, which are really popular now,
Sure.
especially the CA Pen exam or CN Pen exam, for that matter. Again, we've taken a lot of time to design these. They have been carefully designed. We wanted to be able to create an exam to judge people's skills and ability in a 4-hour window rather than a 24 hours window. And that was our mindset. And again, when we designed the CA Pen X, when we release the expert level, it might be an 8-hour window. We will come to it then. But and this is where there is method to the madness. That how do you design an exam to still be able to identify people's skills in that time window? The last thing we want is people failing because of lack of time, right? If people fail because they don't have the skills, then it's probably okay. It's probably fair, and then they can go back and learn those skills and come back. But if they fail because there's not enough time to pass the exam, then that's a different story. So let's have a look at some of these CA Pen questions. How do they look like? Again, so we are doing some promotions on the social media. So this is some of these questions from. So for example, here is we've got some promotions lined up, and we say, hey, here's a sample request that we have seen in the exam, and it is posting an XML file to the server. And the question could be that, hey, can you exploit a vulnerability in this particular request and obtain contents of a file, let's say etc flag, and then submit that flag onto our exam portal, and that will give them, let's say, 20 points. Now, this is not an exact request that you will see in the exam. It may have some modifications, some have iterations, etc. But this is just for us to outline what the exam looks like, and for people to be able to relate to it, to see whether or not they can pass it. Here is another sample that we are thrown away, saying, hey, here is a change password functionality, right? Now, this change password functionality takes the current password, it takes a new password. Okay, I can see there is no CSRF token involved into this request. So do you think this request is vulnerable to CSRF vulnerability? Can somebody do a CSRF attack on a victim using this request? And some brain twisters like this is thrown into it. There will be one of the challenges that we had, like I said, in our exam, we have not forbidden people from running any tool. I know some exams, you're not allowed to run Metasploit, you're not allowed to run Burp Pro or whatever. And to me, that is not an accurate reflection of real pen test world. So here we've taken a different stance, and we've said, look, you run anything you like, right? We don't care. As long as you can hack and you can get us the flag and submit the flag, you pass. If you don't get the flag, you fail. It's as simple as that, in our opinion. Now, the challenge was to still be able to let people run whatever they like, but not make it too easy, right? The last thing you want is somebody ran some commercial tool and he's got 10 flags. How have you tested them on their skills and ability? So we've done some twerks, and hopefully people will realize that there are some twerks in the course to stop them from running those tools. And if they are really clever, they can configure the tool in a particular way to bypass those things and still be able to run the tool and get the job done. But they may find that doing that is actually more time consuming than actually, going back to the basics and do things from the first principle. So when people do it, they will probably appreciate a few things here and there. And hopefully the feedback that we have got so far is pretty fantastic.
So everyone that's joining us, if you look in the chat, we just shared the code to get access to the CNSP exam. And there's also the URL there to access and redeem that code.
Fantastic.
So very interesting. I really, really like this. And like I said before, having the endorsement of something like Black Hat and DEFCON, these are usually the conferences people go to that expect to see expert presentations, training, and other offerings. So it's good to see that. I mean, some other certification courses or certification exams may pop up, but at least it's good to see that the track record in the background, it's created by someone that has worked in the field, someone that's a practitioner, that's been a consultant, has been an educator. Because in the days of Udemy and YouTube, while there's good content out there, validating that it's good content, you don't know when you're just starting out. It's hard to tell. And so having something that's endorsed by, these organizations and coming from someone with a background as yours, as a lot of my colleagues and myself would refer to you as a industry legend. So it's really exciting to see this offering.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you. And I hope people will take up our offer on CNSP. We have free code that we are giving away. And they would also like to try out some of our exams.
So that's great too, because one of the things too is when it comes to kind of more of the blue team or network security type of certifications, you're just kind of limited on what you have out there. But that's awesome. And good to see that you've kind of had the foresight to see that there is a need for other certifications besides just the offensive security certifications.
No, we have some extensive plans with the certification. Right now, we've only just launched an exam on mobile pen testing, and that is going really, really well. In fact, Android pen testing, how many certs are there out there, or independent certifications? Very few. So we take a lot of pride in our exam. It's a practical exam. We will give you an APK. You will have to do quite a few things, from static analysis to dynamic analysis, find a number of flags in the stipulated time. And our roadmap is to have exams on Android and exams on AWS, Azure, some red teaming exams, purple teaming exams, and also then move on to the expert level and create a more advanced, more challenging topics on those fields.
Very cool. So we're getting down towards the end of the show. Is there anything you'd like to share before we end?
Well, just feedback. I think, look, we are a startup. We are emerging. We can always do with feedback. I think in a few years' time, this landscape might change completely. These there might be another zero at the end of the price tag, etc. Who knows? or we may just pack up. But I'm here to try things. Please keep providing your feedback to us. That is always valuable.
Very cool. Well, thanks for taking time out of your schedule to share about your new offering, and it's good to have the opportunity to finally get to speak with you. I've kind of followed you for years, and it was an honor to get to have this discussion with you today.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Phil. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
guys.
Thanks everyone for joining, and make sure to get that code from the chat and check it out. I mean, it's a lot of you joining today are looking for some certs, and you've got a limited budget. So here's your opportunity to get a free certification. So,
thank you, Phil.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the Phillip Wylie Show. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, to learn more about Phillip, go to thehackermaker.com and connect with him on LinkedIn and Twitter @Phillip Wylie. Until next time.